Hey, I have some sad news to report. The official Dragon Ball website has told us that Akira Toriyama, the author of Dragon Ball and so many other amazing works, has died at the age of 68. And I'm sorry to tell you that it appears to be this is not a hoax. This is the truth. We're all used to seeing news on social media about so and so dies, and you click on it, and it was fake. They just wanted clicks. But this is true. This is from the official Dragon Ball news website. And I'll show you in a minute the press release that they put out. I just wanted to make a video to let you know, so we can so that we can get through this together. When I first heard this, I thought, that can't be right. He's only 68. He was born April 5th, 1955. He's about to turn 69. And he's hard at work. He's doing incredible things. It's just more clickbait. But then I read the official news website, and they're not going to put out clickbait. They're not going to put out fake news about Akira Toriyama's death. So I will share that, and we'll talk through it. If I can figure out how. Okay. So here's the Dragon Ball official website at en.dragonballofficial.com. And it says, information, dear friends and partners. We are deeply saddened to inform you that manga creator Akira Toriyama passed away on March 1st due to acute subdural hematoma. He was the age of 68. It's our deep regret that he still had several works in the middle of creation with great enthusiasm. Also, he would have many more things to achieve. However, he has left many manga titles and works of art to this world. Thanks to the support of so many people around the world, he has been able to continue his creative activities for over 45 years. We hope that Akira Toriyama's unique world of creation continues to be loved by everyone for a long time to come. We inform you of this sad news with gratefulness for your kindness during his lifetime. A funeral service was held with his family and very few relatives. Following his wishes for tranquility, we respectfully inform you that we would not accept flowers, condolences, and gifts, visiting, offerings, and others. Also, we ask you to refrain from conducting interviews with his family. A future plan for a commemorative gathering is not decided. We will let you know when it's confirmed. We deeply thank you for your understanding and support as always. March 8th, 2024, Bird Studio and Capsule Corporation, Tokyo. And there's the iconic image of Akira Toriyama with the Robo Toriyama, and this gas mask and everything, and all that stuff. So that's the news. And uh, I didn't believe it at first. Yeah, I was just numb. I thought I couldn't think anything. And now I'm processing it, like I'm sure you are. Uh, I feel sorry for everyone who feels loss and pain at this news. This is it's hard for me. I've spent decades studying Akira Toriyama's work and writing about this man and the way that he thinks. His absolute genius and creativity and boundless inspiration that has left a mark on hundreds of millions of people, if not billions, around the world for decades. And he is someone who has touched my life deeply. And I wouldn't be alive today if it weren't for Dragon Ball. This is a work that I say repeatedly saved my life. And it wasn't Akira Toriyama's intention to do that, but it did. And there are so many people who have similar stories, who were picked on at school, they had trouble at home. They looked to Dragon Ball for escape and a way to rise up and overcome that hardship. Whatever it was that you might have been going through, Dragon Ball was there. Or maybe it was just pure entertainment and you got a laugh out of it and it picked you up and made you feel better. Whatever it was, it had an effect on you. And that was because of Akira Toriyama and the way that he thought and he wrote and he drew. And it was our childhood for so many. And of course, Dragon Ball continues. There's a new one coming out, Dragon Ball Daima. And the classic Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z and Dragon Ball Super will always exist. But Akira Toriyama existed along with those, along with us. And he was responsible for making so much of what we enjoyed. And let's be honest, I obsessed over Dragon Ball. It was my everyday. I would wake up and it was Dragon Ball again. And I made it my job because Dragon Ball saved my life. It was we've lost others in the Dragon Ball community. We've watched voice actors die, and with the Japanese and the local dubs, and that hurt. But not like this. And I'm really surprised that I'm so sad because I didn't think I would be. Yeah. I'm usually not an emotional person. I'm pretty reserved and distant, objective about most things. But this does hurt. And I think going through this is a way to, I'm not ready to let go, but to just process it, Thanks. I see some of the comments. Thank you for those. Yeah, it's okay to be sad. I know. uh, it's just, I don't want to be, you know, I want him to keep doing what he does. Also, it just comes out like kind of nowhere. It's like it's 11 p.m. here in Michigan when they announce it on the official site, and then somebody messages me on Facebook, and uh, I check, and it's like, oh, it's a reputable site. And I check my social media, and I go, oh, all these people are talking about it, and then you go to the official site, and there it is, and you can't deny it. But it's like, okay, he died on March 1st in Japan. We didn't know about it for a week. I know that's normal, but usually you hear about this kind of thing, they tell you later that day or something. So I wish I knew. Like I would have taken a. I know, I know it sounds silly, but I would have taken a loan. I would have done something to go to Japan. Like I should have gone years ago. I should be living there. I should. There's a lot of shoulds. I feel a lot of missed opportunity. I wanted to speak with him. Even if he said, no, I don't want to do an interview, that's fine. I just wanted to let him know what he meant to me, what his work meant to me. To tell him thanks for all that you did. And if we could get more out of it, that'd be great. But it's okay if I didn't. Yeah, I mean, I'd like to study in Japan. I'd like to go there and get a master's in manga studies, get a PhD in anime studies. I've been researching it for the last 2 months, actually 3, to get my PhD and be the Dragon Ball scholar who has a doctorate in Dragon Ball. You know, that's what I wanted to do. And of course, Akira Toriyama was a central role in all of that. I know he doesn't like doing interviews. I know he's closed off and reserved, and he doesn't like visitors to his home and all of that stuff. But I could have worked with his editor and his protege Toyotaro, and that's still possible, which is good. But writing a book about a man who's dead is a lot harder. And aside from my creative professional pursuits, I just wanted to meet him. I think we have a lot in common. We're both into nerdy stuff. We like miniatures and painting and superheroes, Japanese superheroes and tokusatsu and all that. Like, I think we could have been friends. We had so much in common. I might know that's just wild aspirations, but who knows, right? Anything's possible as long as you seize the moment and take a chance. And I missed my chance. So, yeah, there's a lot of other chances, but he's gone. Akira Toriyama is dead, and he's not coming back. So, we don't have any Dragon Balls to wish him back. This is hard. I know it's hard for everybody watching too. It's hard for you guys. I really didn't. It's just so out of the blue. It's like a real emotional blow. And I have a folder full of pictures. I thought I would just go through if I can, Toriyama, see if I can figure out how to do this with this app here. Yeah. So this is actually Akira Toriyama's high school he went to. I know it's a small picture. I want to make sure you guys can. Oh, sorry, I wasn't showing it. This is Akira Toriyama's high school that he went to. It's the Aichi Prefectural Okoshi Technical High School. And he went there to study design and art. That he never got his bachelor's degree, even an associate's. He didn't like school that much, and this is that school now. It's a little picture of other students who are doing what Akira Toriyama did, and going on to do the great things that they're going to do. And here's Toriyama with his son Sasuke, and he had a daughter as well. I don't recall her name off the top of my head. Sorry, but it's just like here's Toriyama with one of his cars that he loved. He was always an auto enthusiast. He grew up with a father who was an auto mechanic, and he was surrounded by cars and motorcycles, and he just loved machines. And he was a man who used what he grew up with in his artwork. I'm sure you're familiar with all of the mecha and the real life cars and other incredible machines that he put into his artwork. And that was because of Toriyama Motors and his dad and the influence that his dad had on him. And when I was writing through the Dragon Ball Culture series, I would often rely on my dad and my mom because they grew up in Detroit and they worked in the automotive industry. And so I would look at a car and be like, what is this? I'd never seen it before. And I would show it to them, and they would point me in the right direction, or they would know what it was right away. Because Toriyama's art, it was realistic, even though it wasn't lifelike. And he based things on real life that he would then morph into his style. He was so talented at that. Like it could be a Harley Davidson or a Mitsubishi Benz or something. You would recognize it, but it would still fit within the dragon world that he created. And he was still doing that today. There was, there's a new Sandland cartoon. It's a 3D cartoon coming out on March 20th. And I hope everybody watches it. Because that's a good comic. And the movie was good too. It only came out in Japan, which is a real shame. But now it's being adapted into the 3D TV show. It'll be on Hulu for the English dub and the Disney Plus in Japan. I don't know about the rest of the world off the top of my head, but go look it up, March 20th. And anyway, he did it, he's doing mecha for that too. And the motorcycle from Dragon Ball Chapter 1 is in there. Another character is riding it. It's not Bulma. Somebody else is riding it, named Anne. It's the name I understand it to be right now. I said Bun on the English website, but whatever. I guess we'll find out in a couple weeks. So there he is, famous picture, Toriyama laughing. That's his name at the top right. Some more. This is his wife, Mikami Nachi was her pen name. She was also a mangaka. You know what? I'm going to see if I can make these pictures bigger so I don't have to show you thumbnails. Just give me a second. And then I'll share that one instead. That'd be better. Just give me a second. Right. Oh, it's not letting me. Oh, there it is. Okay. And then show on stream. Okay. So there's a very young Toriyama, and with the Dr. Slump, when that was blowing up in Japan. There are a lot of Dragon Ball fans who've never read or watched Dr. Slump. Please take the time now that Toriyama is gone to watch his first big hit, or read it, go to the library, ask for the manga, or go buy it, or whatever. It's amazing. It's so funny. And it's a gag manga. And that was Toriyama's first, that's his real passion. He was never a battle manga artist. At heart, he always wanted to do gags. He was a comedian. He was a guy who just wanted to make you laugh. And Dr. Slump will do that. That's the voice actor for Arale. That's the robot girl. And then Dr. Slump is the guy in the green, pounding his fist above. And it's really, really funny. It's just full of the silliest things you can think of. And it's chapter after chapter of Toriyama in his element, doing what he loves to do. And he was a huge success in Japan with Dr. Slump before Dragon Ball. And he became a multimillionaire, and an entire generation grew up on Dr. Slump. It was called the Dr. Slump generation. And then they proceeded into Dragon Ball after that. And when he's announced to his editor he wanted to stop doing Dr. Slump because he was burnt out, his editor, Tarashima Kazuhiko, he was so distraught by it. He's like, don't give me a heart attack, like, okay, you can stop, but you have to agree to do another one, in a couple months or whatever. And Toriyama didn't want to do that either, but he agreed. And then, the long story short, I talk about it in my book. It's a lot of details. The result was Dragon Ball, and it's based on Journey to the West, martial arts, sci-fi, all the fun things that Toriyama loves, and grew up watching as a kid. And he incorporated all that into his work. And I don't want to go on a big spiel here, but anyway, there's Toriyama laughing again with Masako Nozawa when they were still so young, and Toriyama's got that mustache. And this was all before, he decided that he didn't want people to see his face. And he sort of went into hiding. And he's a good-looking man. He seems, Nozawa looks really young there too, right? She's still going strong. There's a lot of energy. I guess they were at some kind of banquet. I don't recall off the top of my head what it was. Sorry. I think it might even be in one of my my magazines, the Birdland Press, or as a guidebook or something. I can't remember. This is a screenshot of Chrono Trigger. And this is a secret room you can get to in the game where there's a person. I'll try to zoom in. You can see Akira Toriyama here on the left wearing his famous mask. And it says Akira Toriyama. It says, "Hey, Sasuke, Kika, Pop's working on games like this. Hey, are you guys watching? Isn't this great?" And then there's Yuji Horii in the middle, and Hironobu Sakaguchi. And Yuji Horii was the creator of Dragon Quest, and then Hironobu Sakaguchi was the creator of Final Fantasy. I don't know who the guy in the back is, or the monster in the back. But so Sasuke was his son, and then Kika was his daughter. And all three of them made Chrono Trigger together. And it's a masterpiece, and it's stood the test of time. Go play it if you haven't. If you have, go play it again, because it's great. Here's Akira Toriyama on Tetsuko's room at the top. This is when he did his first televised interview, and Tetsuko's room was like the Oprah of Japan. It was just a huge talk show. And when he did the interview, he was nervous and he didn't know how to speak that well. And there were times where he would just be silent and kind of stare at Tetsuko or into the audience or camera because he had anxiety. And I remember she asked him, how does it feel to have earned so much money from Dr. Slump? And she quoted this figure, and he was like, really? It was that much? I didn't know that. I never really paid much attention to the numbers. And he might have said it here. Even when I go to my hometown, I see Dr. Slump in the comic book stands at the manga shops. And I think, oh, they're only selling that, or they only have it on display because this is my hometown. Like, he couldn't, it's not that he didn't believe it, but more like he didn't internalize it as a part of his being, right? There was an ego there. He didn't flout his success, you know. Like, there are so many people who really boast, and they wear it on their outside selves, like big gold chains or diamond, whatever, the fanciest clothes and all that stuff. And Toriyama was the opposite. He was oblivious to his own wealth and greatness. And he let his editor handle most of that. Torishima-san handled most of the finances and things. And he just wanted to be a creative person. He wanted to do his artwork and draw and write. And a lot of people, I say this often, but people don't give him enough credit as a writer. He's a tremendous talent when it comes to writing. And it's his illustrations that get all the credit for due cause, but he's a very talented writer as well. So I think a large part of that was because he didn't let his success get to him. He stayed who he always was. Down below, we see Toriyama at the bottom left, and some other mangaka, manga authors, along with Torishima Kazuhiko. He's the second from the right. He's always got that big curly hair. And I think this was at a Shonen Jump gathering. Let me go into the next one. Oh, here he is dressed up as a samurai in 1987. And this was taken at a cultural museum, or like a expo, where you can dress up and as traditional cultural figures. And it's cool to see Toriyama dressed up like that. It's pretty rare. I don't think I've seen it anywhere else. And of course, Goku below that. I'm not sure how many more of these I'm going to go through, but this is helping me. And I hope it helps you. So that's Toriyama with Jackie Chan. The great, legendary martial arts film star. And he's signing what looks like to be a picture of Goku. That's really cool. I have to zoom out in order to go to the next picture. Oh, this is the campus. It's the same technical high school in Aichi where Toriyama went to school. I was doing research on it, and I wanted to interview the principal there to find out the curriculum. as part of the work that I was doing for writing about his biography, I wanted to learn more about what it is that they were teaching at that school, what makes it different from others, and things that they might have taught when he was a student. And that would have helped me write about him so that you guys can better understand him and the way his mind worked. Talking about that just a bit more. Toriyama, he was a trained graphic designer because he went to this school, but also his first job was as a graphic designer at a marketing firm. And he never went to like a fancy art school. He never went to a manga academy or anything. He was, aside from this high school, he was self-taught. And he learned through hard effort, just like Goku and so many of other, shonen characters that have come after Goku were inspired by Toriyama's work, like Naruto and Luffy, and Ichigo, and all that. He learned through grueling effort and repeated rejection from his editor, who first recognized his talent, Torishima-san. He said, when nobody else at Shonen Jump wanted to work with Toriyama, Torishima-san saw the potential that Toriyama had. And he might not have been the kindest teacher, but through repeated rejection, like over 500 rejections of Toriyama's work, he learned to draw better panels, better characters, better backgrounds, and become a better writer, until finally his work started to be published through short one-shot chapters, the one-offs. And then he got his big break with Dr. Slump, and it was a massive hit. And of course, Dragon Ball, Cashman, Sandland, the list goes on. His other works are collected in a compendium now. You go seek that out. In America, it's published by Viz in English, and it's great. All of his works are great. There's nothing he made that I didn't like. He had some formulas. There's some things he did that were a little maybe trademark, I guess, like a boy and a girl, right, going on an adventure, and then some crazy stuff happens, and there's some jokes, and there's some fighting, and but I loved it. It was great, and it's a great formula that so many others have used as inspiration because it works, and he came up with it. There's a high school again, a campus. So Toriyama walked on, through that gate every day. Everybody's seen this one. This is classic. Yeah, just smiling and happy. I want to see how many more of these I have, because I don't want to spend the next hour doing this. Okay. Here's one of the most recent pictures. I think if not the most. Here he is in his 60s. And he's being interviewed by someone. You can barely see them in the middle, their microphone or their recorder, talking to Toriyama. And he's wearing his trademark tracksuit with the stripes on it, the Adidas tracksuit, which he illustrated in so many of his characters, including Gohan, and then his likeness, the Robo Toriyama, and Goku when he's training on King Kai's planet, North Kaio's planet. There was a blue variant there. Gohan's was green, It's because Toriyama wore these clothes in real life. So much of what we see in Dragon Ball was inspired by Toriyama's real life, like Beerus being based off of his cat. And he loved animals. He had dozens of pets. He especially loved lizards. and amphibians, and back when he was young again. It's such a contrast between this youthful, and then in the 60s. But there's him with Sasuke. He's just a kid there. Wow. In Birdland Press, he jokes that Birdland Press was the magazine dedicated to Akira Toriyama's work in Japan. It was part of the Akira Toriyama Preservation Society's work, and as a magazine that they put out, and Toriyama contributed to a great deal of funny stories and illustrations that are only found there. And I know I have them, and I'm really bad at sharing them with you. I'm sorry. I just feel anxiety when I do videos, and it's something I'm working on, getting better at it. It was hard for me to come out and do this, but I had to, so that doesn't matter right now. But anyway, in the Birdland Press, he said when he was a kid, his barber referred to him as the destroyer of hair clippers because his hair was so thick and strong. But it was due to working on Dragon Ball that his hair started to thin out, and the stress, and due to the stress and sitting so long and all of that, and the deadlines and everything, his hair started to thin and then fall out. And I think that might have contributed in part to not wanting to be seen as often by the press, doing a funny face. There he is holding his pen. This is his ink illustration pen. Toriyama used this from the beginning of his career until the very end. This was one of those pens, he said, in El Manga Legendario, which was a magazine that was published in Europe, that if he didn't have this pen, he couldn't do his work. And yet, despite its importance, he would often lose it amid the clutter of his desk and all of his model kits, because he was a avid collector of miniatures, and the boxes would just pile up, one after the other. And his desk would get cluttered with ink and all sorts of other things, and paper. And then he would lose his pen, and it would just, like, he couldn't work. He tried other pens, and they were too long or too short, or the nibs or something. The distance for his hand wasn't right. It was this single pen that he used for his entire career. And he's not going to hold it anymore. So I wonder what's going to happen to that pen. This was the pen that drew Dr. Slump. It drew Dragon Ball. It drew so many others. I think it belongs in a museum. But you know what? Maybe he'll give it to Toyotaro, his protege, or his son, or daughter, or wife, and they'll hold on to it. And maybe they'll make something more with it, or maybe not. It's okay if they don't. But that is a special pen. That's the pen that drew the Dragon World. And the Dragon World was Toriyama's mind. That was everything Toriyama loved made manifest on the paper. He filled it with fun, adventures, lovable characters, bright colors, talking animals, dinosaurs that are walking around, science fiction, robots and time travel, superheroes, and just excitement. And it was a complete contrast to how Toriyama lived his life, which was secluded. He lived his life as an artist in his home. He rarely left to go out because he would get recognized, except for excursions on his motorcycle and car rides and things. He would go on trips. But most of Toriyama's life was spent inside, working on his art, doing character designs, making adventures for other people like us to enjoy. He was a unique man. I never heard any official diagnosis on why he lived such a secluded life. I don't know if he was agoraphobic and really had a diagnosed fear of crowds, because there's no medical public report on that, you know. But it seemed like he preferred to be alone. He was an introvert to a T, but he had friends. He had other manga authors that he would hang out with, and they would watch baseball tournaments. I know he liked watching the annual high school baseball tournament in Japan, and there's a lot of sports references in his work. The whole tournament, the Tenkaichi Budokai, is based off of those baseball tournaments. There's sumo wrestlers, there's professional wrestlers, there's a lot of different martial arts styles, which he absorbed mostly through television and movies. I just got asked the question today, right before I found out that he passed away, that they asked, did Akira Toriyama read Journey to the West, the whole book series? It's like 4 giant books. And I replied, probably not, no. Toriyama liked to watch TV, and he grew up on that. And he absorbed Journey to the West through TV and movies, and just the upbringing in East Asia. Everybody in Japan grew up with Journey to the West, and he used that as the model for Dragon Ball. So he didn't really need to read the books. It's part of that society. I talk about in Dragon Ball culture. When I lived in New York, I was walking around Central Park with a Japanese girl, and I was talking about Dragon Ball and Journey to the West, and she said, "Yeah, that's a really great Japanese story, or story of Japan," one of those phrases. And I had to mention that it was a Chinese story. This is, from ancient China, 1592, and she didn't know that because in Japan, it's just part of Japan, right? It's just like that's the culture. Excuse me for a moment. So Japan, Toriyama grew up with that, and he shared it with us. For many fans of Dragon Ball, it was their first introduction to Journey to the West. They'd never heard of Son Goku, inspired by Sun Wukong, before. It was their introduction to East Asian culture, to Buddhism, Taoism, Shinto, the martial arts. Dragon Ball inspired me to do the martial arts. I got into Kung Fu in Grand Rapids, Michigan at Chan's Kung Fu. And that led to the East Asian Studies major at Western Michigan University. I studied abroad in Beijing at the Beijing Language and Culture University. And then I studied with the Shaolin monks while I was there and learned Kung Fu from the head abbot of the Beijing Shaolin Temple, the newly founded temple. Shi Yanggao was his name. And that was all because of Dragon Ball. And I talk about it in Dragon Soul, in my book about Dragon Ball fandom. 81 stories from fans all over the world who had their lives transformed by Dragon Ball for the better. They were inspired to become philosophers, to become actors, mixed martial artists, to become manga authors, to become cosplayers, to become directors and act in a Dragon Ball live action film, Dragon Ball Z Light of Hope, which I was fortunate enough to be the writer and co-creator of. And we showed that Dragon Ball Z in live action can be done right when you have passionate fans who understand this series and who grew up on it. And that was because of Toriyama. I would never have become who I am without Toriyama. And that's true for so many others. It could be true for you watching this right now. It's a life-changing work. And I owe Toriyama a great deal. I know there are others who do as well. There he is. This was when he was doing Chrono Trigger. I have another picture. It might come up. There it is. Yep. There's Akira Toriyama on the left, obviously. Yuji Horii at the top right, and Hironobu Sakaguchi at the bottom right. In front of Chrono Trigger on a CRT TV, Panasonic, and they're playing the game on the Super Famicom. That game was made by Square before it was Square Enix. It was just Square or Squaresoft. And it's a legendary game. It's still amazing. Here he is in front of a Dragon Ball Z arcade unit. I want to say this was Super Butoden 2. Don't remember exactly. But for the Jump 25th anniversary, he designed this arcade cabinet with one of his trademark mecha designs. It's just incredible. And there they are again. Look at these guys. On the table, you can see Toriyama's artwork. See if I can zoom in on that. And you can see it's, you might recognize some of the drawings if you're a fan of Chrono Trigger, but it's just amazing. You can just sit there and just a pad of paper and a pen and just make incredible creations. Look at the size of this laptop. Oh, it's so thick. That's great. It has that trackball in the middle. I remember those things. No, there's the full picture. Yeah. So, and yeah, Yuji Horii is smoking a cigarette. Toriyama was a lifelong smoker. When I read what he died from, I thought, geez, I wonder if it had anything to do with his lifelong habit of smoking. And yeah, they had some silly ties back then. So I was, I'm not a doctor. I don't know a lot about subdural hematoma, but that was the official cause of death described in the Dragon Ball official news website. So just in brief, it's where the blood pools up between the skull and the surface of the brain. And it's often caused by a head injury. Somebody falls and they bang their head, or they take a heavy blow to the head, and then they have a headache and they feel sick. And unfortunately, it has a high mortality rate, between 50 to 90%. And This is the pressure that builds up. And a few days after the injury or whatever that might have caused it, you end up dying. So I don't know if there's a cause and effect between his smoking and the cause of his death. But my initial thoughts are probably not. And I don't know if he ever stopped smoking, because he stopped being public, right? So we don't know. We don't have any pictures of him not doing the thing that he might have been doing. But he used to be a chain smoker, and he would sit and draw for the Dragon Ball manga, and he would just one cigarette after the next for the entire time he was a serialized manga author. So I hope for his sake that he stopped, but I don't know if he did. Here they are again. There's Toriyama on the left. Toriyama and Sakaguchi would on the right would come back together to work on Blue Dragon, which was a game for the Xbox 360. I never got to play it. I always wanted to, but I never owned a 360, and they have yet to release it on on Steam or anything else, re-release it. So I'd have to buy a 360 to play it. I just never have. Yeah, back then it was called the Dream Project, and Toriyama's illustrations of the three. This cool holograph effect there. That's a close-up of him on Tetsuko's room in color. That interview is available on YouTube. At least it used to be. I referenced it when I was writing about it. You can watch the full thing. Maybe I'll share it when I do a blog post about this. I think that's a good idea, so people can watch him, listen to him talk. I don't remember what this was for. This was Toriyama on stage. He was doing, I think this was at, this might have been in Germany at the Bonsai, for the Bonsai magazine, which was like the Shonen Jump of Germany. A lot of Viz or Shueisha publications. I want to say this is when he came on stage and did an interview before drawing, but I could be mixing it up with something else. Forgive me if I got that wrong. Tetsuko's room again, and there's his name, Toriyama Akira. In Japan, they read the last name first. This is one of his self-illustrations where he depicted himself as a wind-up doll. Oh, and this is his editor, Torishima-san, Kazuhiko Torishima. And this was actually taken by a colleague of mine who works at Forbes. And this was a great interview he did with Torishima on Forbes, where he talks about Dragon Ball. I think my colleague's name is Ali. And this was Toriyama's working place. It's cluttered, as you can see. There's a lot to talk about in this image. Let me just go through it quick, so because you might have a lot of questions. Toriyama is there in the middle. He is sitting at a Japanese style desk, where you put your legs underneath the desk, and then it has like a quilt that goes over it on all four sides, and then there's a heater underneath the table that has a fan that puts the heat down on your legs, so it keeps your legs warm. And this type of table used to be used in the feudal era with like a fireplace, and everybody would put their legs underneath, and then the fire would radiate and keep you warm. But then the modern ones are electric, and they're like almost every person has one. They're just like a standard piece of furniture in Japan, and you sit on the floor and you put your legs underneath it, and you're nice and comfy. Sometimes the chairs have a little, like they're upright and they have a little back, and then they have little arms you can rest on. But most people just sit on a cushion, and that's what Toriyama did. And this is where he would work, and he would sit in front of his TV, which you can see here at the left. And this is where he drew Dr. Slump and Dragon Ball and so many others. And it's what he was comfortable doing. And he had such a strange quirk that he would watch TV while drawing and writing. I don't know how he does it, because when I try to work with moving pictures and people talking, it's so distracting. But he would have no trouble, and he would often incorporate what he saw in his work, including comedy, like stand-up routines, and the martial arts action of Jackie Chan from Drunken Master and Snake and Eagle Shadow. And he did what I think is impossible. I don't know how he did that. That's how his mind worked. So then you can see his desk over here, these miniatures, these box sets for these cars. We can see some type of car, I can't make out what it is, but classic automobiles here, like real life cars. Bottle of glue over here. I can't really make out the rest here, the little details, but you can see this is just one table. It's cluttered. The old-fashioned phone here, the cord hanging down. And that was him right there. This is Toriyama's parody of other manga authors as Dragon Ball characters. There's his editor and other people. There's Kaio, Piccolo, Yamcha, Tenshinhan, Yajirobe, and maybe Vegeta or Dodoria, some Saiyan, I don't know. And of course, Toriyama is wearing the Kame-sen and Dogi. Here's Toriyama with some action figures, his Dragon Ball Z figures. I still have this same Goku figure downstairs. And I have a Gogeta. And I used to have this Vegeta. I don't know if I do anymore. And then I have the Burger King Piccolo. They're still downstairs. Do you guys have those? Do you have? I know some of you are big Dragon Ball figure collectors, and you have huge collections. I never really got into doing all that. I just had a few things that I picked up along the way that I thought were fun. Here's an illustration by Toriyama of Toriyama smoking a cigarette, which is exactly what I just talked about. This is how Toriyama he sitting at that Japanese table with his paper flat on the table, which is also something I don't know how you do. I would need it at an angle, or at least the page angle or something. But there he is holding that pen with his preferred brand of ink, which was a Zebra ink, I want to say, or no, Luma, sorry. Luma ink, Zebra pen and nibs, and then he would use Kent paper. Those were his preferred brands, and he would use them for his entire career. Off the top of my head, I don't know what brand of cigarette he smoked. I think he might have mentioned it, but I can't remember. There's that one again. I think we might be back at the start. Oh no, we got a couple more. There's Sasuke again. And this is him with Rumiko Takahashi. And she's another famous manga author. Go check out Ranma and all the other Urasei Yatsura and all the other great things that she did. And then Toriyama drawing himself and his son, his newborn Sasuke. who I'm sure are very sad. Toriyama's family, his wife and 2 kids. We never heard about anything else after that. I don't know if he ever had any more children, or we never hear about his nephews or nieces or anything else. Extended family. I'll stop sharing that one. So I don't know. I've been talking for an hour. This has helped, and thank you for all the comment. I'm gonna go through the comments now. I haven't even. Sorry if I neglected what you wrote. Yeah, I didn't want to believe it. You're saying, I can't believe this happened. I didn't want to believe it either. I was numb. I was numb when I first heard it. And I did, at first, didn't believe it because there's all the fake articles. Then I was numb for like a half hour. I still don't want to believe it. He's only 68, almost 69. Like, Japanese people live a long time. They're one of the longest living people in the world, along with those on the Mediterranean diet. And I really did not expect him to die at 68. Maybe the decades of smoking caught up to him. Maybe he injured his head and couldn't recover, or maybe it was unrecoverable. Whatever happened to him, maybe it was so severe that not even Toriyama could get through it. Thank you for the kind words. You said thank you for the honor you bring to his legacy through your literature. That is kind of you to say. I have so much more I'd like to do to honor Akira Toriyama. I have a folder filled with book ideas. There's over 40 books I want to write, and they're in various stages of progress. And I just don't have enough time or energy or money. I don't have the resources. I couldn't go to Japan to try and say to him how much he meant. I struggle to pay my bills as a Dragon Ball scholar, but it's what I've chosen to do because Dragon Ball saved my life. And Akira Toriyama saved my life. And I will continue to do it. There are many times I've thought about quitting and getting a, quote, real job and not writing all the books and doing things, but it's hard for me to imagine not doing it. And I just need to find a way to make more money doing it, so I can go there and speak with the people who were around him. Now, I can't speak with him, but I can speak with the people who were around him. Masako Nozawa said she would write the foreword to one of my next books. I gotta get there, and I need to stop making excuses. Also, I know you don't want to hear it, but if you smoke, please stop. If that had anything to do with his death, just take it as your chance to stop. just be safe. Keep reading here. Rest in peace. He did so much for the world. Just imagining the intro credits for Daima in memory of Akira Toriyama just makes me cry already. Yeah. I wish they didn't have to say that, but they probably will. Thank you, Quinn. Big hugs to you and everyone watching this. Yeah. Yeah. Like so many others, Dragon Ball is my youth, and it was my escape, my refuge. And every time I read it, I think this is such a great piece of work. It's really a masterpiece. Like, there's nothing about Dragon Ball I dislike. Every part of it is just great. And please go read the original if you haven't, or watch the original. I know a lot of people started with Z. The original is so good. It's when Toriyama was following Dr. Slump, and there's so many funny things in there. And then the action picks up. It's just great. But what ironic is that it wasn't a huge success right out of the gate. We think of it as the world's biggest, but along with One Piece and Gundam and Pokemon and stuff, but it wasn't a huge success right out of the gate. It was polling very poorly with Japanese kids. But then Toriyama introduced the tournament, and the tension that results from not knowing who's going to win each fight, and then the mashups of all these different characters, and Toriyama's, what I call Toriyama's rule of opposites, where he would put opposites against each other. Like he has Bacterian, like the world's smelliest man, fighting against Krillin when he has no nose and he can't smell the stink. He was really good at that. He was just great at putting opposites in contrast. And he'd been doing it his whole career. And I really want to see what he does with Daima, with whatever, amazingness that awaits us in Dragon Ball Daima. Here's a comment about Dragon Ball Super. I often watch Goku and Frieza versus Jiren as a way to relax. It also reminds me that anyone can come together for a common good. Even Frieza, he's just the destroyer of planets, annihilated all the Saiyans, and he worked with Goku to save Universe 7. It's a good lesson. There were lessons in Dragon Ball. I know that it wasn't his intention. He didn't want to give a heavy-handed moral lesson in his work. But what's so funny is that by trying to not do that, he ended up doing that. He created a series that was filled with lessons that inspired hundreds of millions of people to be better. And I think that is the lesson to take away when someone passes away, is how did they influence your life? How did they make you a better person? Even if it was just entertainment to escape, that could be all you needed. For me, it was a lot more. It altered the trajectory of my life 100%. And it will continue to do that. Yeah. It's okay to be sad. That's true. It's a feeling that everybody gets sometimes. I normally don't like expressing or feeling this stuff, but can't help it. Sorry, my mouse has a double click problem. Not going to work. Let's try this. Okay. Akira touched the world with his art. We all felt it. That's true. We did. I'll use this one. Yeah, I'm actually in shock and heartbroken. Yeah, that's fair. I'm sorry if I don't put your comment on screen. I just want to share the ones I feel like sharing. Imagine meeting Akira once. That would be so amazing. Yeah, I remember when I met Masuko Nozawa and Toshio Furukawa and a few of the other Dragon Ball voice actors at Animazement in Raleigh, North Carolina. I'll never forget when Sean Schemmel was sitting next to Masuko Nozawa, and she did Goku's voice, and Sean flipped out, and everybody else in the room flipped out too. There were maybe 1,000 people in that room, big conference hall, and it was like Goku was in the room with us. It was just that spirit of Goku's personality and optimism and endurance was in the room. And I think I can only imagine meeting Akira Toriyama, where you watch him draw, or just to hang out with him. Would have felt like you would get glimpses, not all the time, of course, but you get glimpses of the Dragon world, because the Dragon world was Toriyama's mind. That's who he was. He put himself into his work. He did not live a life outside of his home, aside from occasional excursions on his bike or car. You could see him in his art. His art was a reflection of his mindset. And that's an amazing mind. There really aren't many people who could do what he did. And his work ethic was tremendous. Week after week, hitting those deadlines, but in his Toriyama way. He didn't work 9 to 5 for 5 days and then take the weekends off. He would do nothing for 4 days. And then he would work nonstop with his assistant, his one assistant, who would work on the backgrounds and the characters in the background. And then he would send that chapter off to Tokyo, and his editor would call him and tell him what was good, what wasn't. Or if there was no time left, they would just publish it. And to be able to do that is astounding. Like, how could you think like Toriyama does? You've got the country's biggest manga, and you have to come out with a chapter every week. maybe every 2 weeks because you have a holiday every once in a while. Like, how could you be so nonchalant and just think, yeah, I'll bang it out. It's no problem. But that's what he did time and time again. And he would receive inspiration. Like he says in an interview, when he gets backed into a corner, his mind would bubble up some ideas and he would combine different things that he'd been thinking about. And it was always great. There are people who can find little tiny nitpick things to focus on, but I think even those are great. His entire collective works are astounding. His designs, the character designs for Dragon Quest, amazing. Nobody could do a slime except for Akira Toriyama. You know, the traditional slime from Dragon Quest is like, the idea comes from Dungeons and Dragons, where it's like a blob or like a pool of acid or something, right? And then you got a blob monster, and it's terrifying. It consumes people, and it's gross. So what's Toriyama do? The opposite. He gives you a cute little round creature with a teardrop shape and a smiley face. That's the slime. Nobody else would do that. Only Akira Toriyama would make a slime that was adorable. And of course, they even have their own games now, right? Like there's spin-off slime games and plushies and everything else. He was so good at character design, at graphic design, making logos. Think about all the logos that are in Dragon Ball. And I'll be showing you them in my book, Dragon Ball Language, when that comes out. I got to stop making excuses and get it done. Just masterpieces from East Asian culture and Western culture. His mind had both of those, and he would draw on them as needed, like in Dragon Ball. Obviously, the symbol on the Kame-sen Ryu-dogis, right, with the kanji in them. Each one of those kanji means something. But they're all based, but that character, that circle design is traditional East Asian design, is Japanese. And Toriyama adapted that for his characters and the characters that they wear on their clothing, which is often representative of their names. And then in the West, you've got stuff like Whis' symbol in Dragon Ball Super, that little curly Q. You've got King Castle from the original Dragon Ball with the king of the country, king of the world, just KC. There's so many. I'm sure you have a favorite. Some people even get them tattooed. Like they get the Saiyan royal crest tattooed on their wrist as a reminder of Vegeta and the Saiyans and what they mean to them. That's the influence that Toriyama had on other people. Even when he wasn't trying to influence people, he was just making his art. He was doing what he loved, but he incorporated his graphic design talents into Dragon Ball and all of his other manga and video game designs. And then people become emotionally involved with his work. And those symbols go on to mean something. He might have made them without meaning, for the Western characters in particular, but they go on to carry meaning for the fans who admire his work. And when you get engrossed in it, one symbol can mean a lot to you. Like it could be Goku's kanji, for enlightenment, the Go. It could be maybe even the Ma symbol for Piccolo. And Gohan, he had on his back, he had Piccolo's symbol, which indicated that he was Piccolo's disciple. it's that kind of thinking in Toriyama's mind, like these little things some people might not notice. They mean a lot to certain people. They mean a lot to me, and all of that stuff means a lot to me. Man. I'm sorry, Regina. You said, I feel so stupid, but I'm literally sick over this. I want to puke. That's relatable. But don't feel stupid. That is a normal reaction. It's like someone in your family died. It's when Akira Toriyama, he's gone. I mean, and when someone in your family dies, it's normal to feel sick or to have strong reactions and to be sad and to even throw up if that's what your mind and body have to do to process it. It's okay. Yeah, we're losing people. Patrick says, let's raise our hands up high to let Toriyama know we still love him and to help Goku in more battles emotionally. Yes. Raise your hands up high for the Genki Dama, the Spirit Bomb, and let your energy be sent to wherever Toriyama is. Maybe he's in the other world. He's hanging out with King Kai right now. Who knows? I don't. But it's nice to imagine that, right? I hope he's wearing his tracksuit, hanging out with King Kai. James says, I'm in shambles, bro. I took a shot out of my Goku shot glass. Yeah, okay. Do what you got to do. It's whatever you got to do to cope, you know? Oh, man. Happy Console Gamer. Thank you. Says, I was thinking about you, Derek, when I heard the news. Thanks, man. I was thinking about you. Unironically, I was thinking about you. And then I saw your reply on Twitter and how sad you were. Happy Console Gamer is in my Dragon Soul book. His real name's Johnny Millennium. And he's got a great story about how Dragon Ball influenced his life. And when he was a kid in high school, he was into anime before anybody else was into it, like in the 80s, you know, way before anime became mainstream. And Dragon Ball was one of the ones that got him. It was just like, this is the show, and it influences art. And he does really great videos on YouTube about video games, and he's optimistic. That's the trademark of his work. Is he's an optimist, really, really positive. So if you love video games and you want positivity, go watch Happy Console Gamer. Thanks for the comment, Johnny. Oh, double clicked, sorry. JADE says DBS is my favorite. To your face. Tournament of Power. It was great, wasn't it? I know some people kind of didn't like Dragon Ball Super, but it had so many great moments. And some people like you is your favorite, so that's great. Quinn says he will forever live within the fans. That's true, man. He will. And I hope that whatever type of fan you are, maybe you're just a consumer, but if you are an artist of any kind, then just take a moment to maybe draw something or write something, or if you don't have it in you, just send out a text, whatever it is. Just it could help you process this loss and this situation that none of us wanted to go through, but we have to. Yes, kotatsu was the word. That's the Japanese table. Thank you, special noob. I wanted to say it, but then I was like, what if I'm wrong and look dumb? Or what if people don't know the word? But you're right, it's kotatsu. So user says, well, it is the end of entire Dragon Ball. I don't know about that. What do you guys think? Is Dragon Ball done? I want to disagree. Like, I understand why you're saying that, because Toriyama is Dragon Ball, right? And we've seen what happens when people who are not Toriyama write Dragon Ball. It's hit or miss. Sometimes it's okay. We had some good movies that were not written by him. You know, the first 13 Dragon Ball Z movies, the original Dragon Ball movies, they were written by, different person. And there's some admirable content in there. You can respect the work that went into it, right? Then there's stuff like Dragon Ball Heroes, and it's okay. And then, of course, live action. But by the way, that's not done, or it's not over. You might get something. I can't talk about it, actually. But anyway, I'm pursuing it. I'd like to do a live action Dragon Ball. And I've been in talks with the people who own Dragon Ball. So we'll leave it at that, because that's not what this video is about. But anyway, I don't think Dragon Ball is going to end. I think they're going to probably, once Daima, we got Daima coming out, and once Daima is over, they have a whole Dragon Ball room of people who full-time job to make Dragon Ball content. So, of course, they're going to keep making it because it's a massive money machine in Japan, and the merchandising, tens of millions of dollars throughout the world, right? All going to Japan. So you got Gundam, Pokemon, One Piece, Naruto, and Dragon Ball. Those are the big ones. So they're not just going to end that, right? Dragon Ball will continue in some form. It could be more video games for a while. They might take a break on original content. Who knows? But Dragon Ball is too big for them to just put an end to it. So I don't think it's going to stop. I think Dragon Ball will continue. Time will tell in what form. User says he is a legend. Yes, he is. Always will be. Akira Toriyama always will be. VX_IXA says Kentaro Miura and now Akira Toriyama. This is sad because both weren't able to finish their stories. I hope other mangaka finish their stories before leaving us. For sure with Kentaro Miura, I know he had like outlines and stuff on what he wanted the story to be. I don't know if they're gonna. I don't know enough about Berserk. I've read it, but I'm not obsessed with it like I am with Dragon Ball and Toriyama. So I'm not sure what they have in store for that, or if they'll actually finish the story. But one of the things about Dragon Ball is that it is eternal. You could have never done Dragon Ball Super, and Dragon Ball would still be eternal because of the way Toriyama ended it at the end of the 28th Tenkaichi Budokai, where he flies off with Oob. So, and of course there's GT as well, right? But Toriyama's endings are open-ended. So we don't actually have a finite ending to Dragon Ball. And I don't think Toriyama would have ever written a finite ending, because that would have been anti-Toriyama, right? It's not his style. So Dragon Ball can keep going forever, and it can be a million different things because there's no finish line to Dragon Ball. And the great thing about that, I guess emotionally, is that it's not over for us as fans, right? So I think maybe an adjustment of that idea in your mind can help you cope with this, is that Akira Toriyama has died, but Dragon Ball has not died. Okay, Dragon Ball will continue in some form. We're going to get it in Daima at the end of the year, so we have that to look forward to. And who knows if there'll be a sequel to that or a spin-off or something. But I'm sure we'll have more Dragon Ball to look forward to in the years to come. Sorry, I'm silent. I'm reading the comments. You guys are so nice to write. The question from Dusk: he died of a subdermal hematoma, which is caused by trauma to the head. Did he fall? We don't know. The official Dragon Ball News website, Dragon Ball Official, said that he died of acute subdural hematoma, and that is where they left it. So we don't know what caused that subdermal hematoma. All we know is what it is, and it's a pooling of the blood in the brain that leads to death in a majority of cases. It is common for people who are older to fall down and be damaged in some regard, but we don't have enough information. They didn't make that public, so we don't know. Madness says, I heard the news just when I went to go do grocery shopping. His death is just 4 days after the day my younger drowned 29 years ago. It feels so surreal and weird. It does, yes. I'm sorry that this brought up painful memories. And I'm sure it does for a lot of people. We all have anniversaries like that, something that we connect to, another painful memory. But in some ways, it helps us process that and to cope, because we know that life is a series of losses, and they often arrive when we don't expect them to, and they can hurt a great deal. On the other hand, life is joy, right? And there's this, I study East Asian culture because of Dragon Ball. And there's always been this dichotomy between the Buddhist life is suffering and the Taoist life is joy, and just be true and live in the moment. And I really think Toriyama expresses that in Dragon Ball through Goku a lot. You just imagine or think back on how much pain Goku goes through, right? Constant suffering. When he's training, when he's in battles, getting hit so hard that he gets pushed into mountains and the mountains explode. And he's training in 100 times normal gravity, just agony, right? But he's happy. He's a happy guy. He smiles. He goes with the flow. He's just, he has a light personality. And he makes other people happier. He makes other people's lives better by being himself. So despite all of the pain that he goes through, he manages to be a positive person. He doesn't become bitter and angry. He's not upset that he was sent to Earth, like, by his parents. He's actually grateful for it. Vegeta tries to use that against him and say, you're just trash. You were discarded because of your low power level. Goku flips it on him and says, I'm glad to be an Earthling. I got to meet all these incredible people and train with all these martial arts masters to become the person that I am. So he takes that situation, which some people might view as negative, and he makes it a positive. That's a really valuable lesson for whatever pain you might be going through in your life. And Akira Toriyama gave us that lesson through his work. And I've said it before, he wasn't trying to give us a lesson. He just wanted to entertain us. But he did teach us a lot of lessons through the characters in Dragon Ball. Goku has so many lessons to teach, but of course Vegeta does too, right? Perseverance, endurance, pride, being proud of who you are, where you came from, and what you're doing for yourself and for others. And the power of transformation and how you can go from being self-centered to selfless, sacrificing yourself for the sake of others and your family, the people that you care about. There's just so much to it. And on top of that, it's entertaining. It's really, it's funny. It's just a funny, lighthearted series. So let's try to remember that as we go through these tough times, like what Toriyama gave us. Yeah, Special Noob says, I'm going to appreciate Sandland and Daima even more. He left us more reasons to smile at the end. That's true. Yeah, Sandland comes out March 20th. They just sprang it on us. We didn't know they were doing this, but they are. March 20th on Hulu in English, and then on Disney Plus in Japan. It might be elsewhere. Just go look it up. Toriyama wrote an original addition to Sandland. So there's the manga that he wrote in 2001, was it? And then there is more content coming after that. So they're adapting the manga into a 3D animated film, which was originally a theatrical film. And then it only came out in Japan, sadly, because I would have gone and seen it, and I would have promoted it, and I would have loved it, I'm sure. That's based off of Toriyama's original manga. And then there's going to be an additional series of episodes that tell a new story that take place after the manga, with new characters, including an angel that Toriyama designed and a female character who rides a motorcycle just like Bulma's from Dragon Ball Chapter 1. So we don't know anything about these characters, and we're going to find out together. Madness says, I hope Shonen Jump does a special edition in his honor and have the issue be released worldwide. That would be nice. Yeah, man. So many people have been influenced by his work. Masashi Kishimoto from Naruto, Eiichiro Oda from One Piece, you name it. The manga authors from the 2000s, 2010s, and now 2020s were all influenced by Akira Toriyama. He's just an absolute master who changed so many people's lives in Japan, changed their careers, inspired them to become the manga authors that they are today, who then, with their work, went on to inspire countless others. And of course, generated billions in revenue. Toriyama made all of that happen because he established, through his own creativity, this battle manga formula that was a winning formula for so many to follow. So yeah, they better do a tribute. If they don't, who would they do it for, you know? Yeah. It's crazy that, yeah, Dusk's, I don't want to keep posting all these comments, but it's crazy that he's not here anymore. But the good news is that a lot of his work is going to carry on. He still had some things that he had accomplished prior to his death that are going to be seen in years, in ensuing years. So like Sandland coming out March 20th, Dragon Ball Daima coming out in the fall, and Dragon Quest, the next big Dragon Quest game, was it 13? 12? Like the mainline one. That's going to be big. Or is it 11? There's so many. Anyway, he does great work, and I'm sure we're going to keep seeing more of it for a while to come. Yeah. Guy James says, a lot of people don't know much about anime, but just about everyone I know knows about Dragon Ball. Yeah. When you say, do you watch anime? Or are you into anime? Or have you heard of anime? People say, oh, you mean like DBZ? And yeah, that's exactly what I mean. And it's because of Toriyama. He made anime mainstream. Funimation wouldn't exist without Dragon Ball Z. Funimation was responsible for dubbing hundreds, maybe 1,000 by now, different shows because of the first show they got, Dragon Ball Z. It was a massive success. It made the entire industry in Texas. It was, just the whole voice acting industry because of Funimation, because of Dragon Ball, because of Akira Toriyama. That's amazing. Casey Jones says, rest in peace, legend in South Africa. Yeah, man, Dragon Ball was a global success. I got another book I'm working on with the working title called Dragon Ball World. And it goes into all of the histories of Dragon Ball in every country in the world. And there's no place it didn't find success. Every place Dragon Ball went, it was successful and built that manga and anime industry. It couldn't be anything other than that. It's so influential. Oh, this is interesting. Special Noob says, I think they were positioning Dragon Ball to become like American comics, where the intellectual property lives on far beyond the creators. And sometimes you get great stories and not so great stories. It could be. It could be. That's never been the case with Dragon Ball up to now, with exceptions for things like Dragon Ball Heroes and those original movies, right? But without Toriyama, they still need to make that money. They're gonna. It's a business. It's just like when they do voice actor sound alikes when someone dies. Like when Hiromi Suru, the voice of Bulma, died suddenly. She had a heart problem while she was driving her car, and then she just died on the road, as sudden as could be. But the show had to go on, so they casted a voice actor sound alike, and Bulma was replaced. And that's a sad thing to have happen. I remember crying when Bulma died too, because that's how it felt. It wasn't just Hiromi Suru who died; it was Bulma who died, and it was so painful. But the business has to keep moving forward, and Dragon Ball is a big business. It's bigger than Akira Toriyama, which I don't like saying, but it's the truth. So the chances are high that after a period of mourning, the Dragon Ball room of writers and artists will get together and they'll have to come up with something new. And they're going to need people to sound those ideas off of. Unfortunately, they can't send it to Toriyama anymore. So they're going to send it to someone else. Somebody who thinks like Toriyama or understands his mindset. People who really get why he did what he did and then how he did it. Somebody who appreciates like the way he would contrast opposites against each other, like tall guy, short guy, fat guy, skinny guy, simple things like that. But the combination of them is what made Toriyama's work so creative. It's easy to just say that, but the way Toriyama did it, it was charming, and it always worked. Even if I saw it again and again and again, it always worked. So they're going to need somebody like that, and they do have a lot of talent over there. So I think Dragon Ball will continue in some form. Jamu says, my eyes hurt from crying so much. Yep. Hey, SSJ Goshen 4. Sorry it took me so long to get to your comment. Got a lot of them. She's a great YouTuber, cosplayer, collector. Big collector is the biggest thing. She says, it truly is amazing how Akira Toriyama was able to create such a world full of life and memorable characters. Without him, so many people I would have never met and experiences I would have never had. That's true. We were able to meet, Goshen and I were able to meet at the Kamehacon in Dallas, which was the world's first Dragon Ball convention. And it was awesome. On the one hand, it was awesome. On the other hand, I had a terrible experience with my books and all sorts of other things. And the staff. But the fans were awesome. And because Dragon Ball fans are awesome. And that was such a great event. I had so much fun there hanging out with everybody. And the after party and the birthday party for Geekdom 101, that was great. We went to a Korean barbecue and we just chowed down, and all these other Dragon Ball people in the community, YouTubers and cosplayers and collectors, we all got together and we went to that party and we just hung out, and it was nice because we all have that in common. We all love Dragon Ball and we're all influenced by it, and we all have our favorite character, and some of us have the same favorite character. Some of us like to dress up, and some of us, like to philosophize about it or write about it, and give back to the community in different ways. We're artists or whatever it might be. And that's one of the powerful effects of Dragon Ball. And yeah, it's true that every fandom has a community, right? But I've met so many awesome people in this one that I'm grateful for that. And you guys are great. So without Toriyama, that wouldn't have happened. So that's really nice. Yeah, well said. Goshen. Not me. Well said, Goshen. Yeah, you're welcome. Says, thank you for the video. You're welcome. Yeah, Akira was a part of all of our lives. That's true. Which is really the opposite of what he wanted. He did not want you in his life, and he did not want to be in your life, but through his work, he was a part of our lives. And because we supported Akira Toriyama's work, we were a part of his life. So fascinating dynamic there, and that he wanted to avoid people and just wanted to work on his work. And we absorbed that, and it became a part of our lives. And we did it over the span of years and even decades. And we absorbed it, and it became a part of who we are. It became our worldview, right? Like, I've had people who read my books, and they said, Derek, you explained my mind in the way that I think, because it's been so influenced by Dragon Ball. Like, I think about Dragon Ball, and I think about the world and other people through the lens of Goku or Vegeta or any of the other characters, because they're the ones I related to, or they're the ones who inspired me, or some other thing, or they reminded me of a friend of mine who maybe they passed away, and they were just like that guy, right, or that girl. They meant so much to me. And none of that was intentional, but it all happened. And that was Toriyama's power. By not trying to teach you a lesson, he taught you many lessons. I just want to show this one real quick because, yeah, Dragon Ball was so funny, and it still is, always will be. So if you need a laugh, go read it, go watch it again. Hope you don't get too sad. I probably will. I remember when Hiromi Suru died, and I watched the ending credits, Romantiku Aguerryo, I'll give you romance. I just burst into tears because that ending is about Bulma, right? The opening credits are about Goku. The ending credits are about Bulma. That's the thematic two sides of the coin. And it was tough to watch that, knowing that she was gone. She never even says a word. Like, Hiromi Suru's voice isn't even heard in the ending credits, the outro, but that's Bulma. And then the rain coming down and her looking out on the adventures she was going to have and all the amazing people that she would meet. So that was but it was cathartic. It's good to do that. It helps you it's painful in the short term, but it helps you in the long term. Because if you don't, if you hold on to it and you don't process the pain, then it comes out in other ways, and you might end up hurting yourself, or you could say something to somebody that you don't want to say, and you can end up hurting them. So do whatever you need to do to process this. It's really tough. I mean, I don't know, I've been talking for 2 hours. So obviously I need some time to get through this. And you've seen me cry and look like a mess, but it's okay. I chose to do this. And you do whatever you got to do. Maybe you do a live stream. That'd be fine. Sebastian says, this stream feels like a healing hug after this tragic news. Dragon emoji. Well, thanks, Sebastian. That's nice of you to say. That was part of the reason why I wanted to do it, was to help people process this and be a catharsis to, connect with other fans and commiserate through this pain. But also to celebrate who Akira Toriyama was and to remember all the great things that he did and how he lived his life. Let's see here. I'm getting a lot of comments from Brandon, and I don't know why. Seems like my comments have broken. They're all just showing up as Brandon. Oh, hey, SS Jerry. Yeah, wow, right? I don't know. Goshen says, Dragon Ball appeals to everyone of all ages, and that's thanks to Akira Toriyama's wonderful storytelling. It is. Yeah. He gets tons of credit for his artwork, but he's a phenomenal writer, and he deserves even more credit for his writing prowess. Real talent. Now, a lot of that also was working in collaboration with his editor, Kazuhiko Torishima. But the inspiration, like the impetus for everything, comes from Toriyama. He was the idea guy. He would put these sometimes wacky ideas out there, and Torishima would have to, sort of mold that. Other times, he would go out of his way to disappoint you, and Torishima would have to say, "That's really lame. You got to do better than that." Right? The famous example of the androids, like the original 2 androids, and then the next 2 androids, and then Cell. Each one of those, like Toriyama was like, "Well, this is it. That's all. That's the main villain." And then Torishima was like, "That's lame. You got to do something better." So then you would up it to the next one, and then Cell's different forms and everything else. But the fact he came up with so much every week, consistently, and he managed to keep topping that. Just he put it here, and then the next story arc he put it here, and then the next story arc up there, and it would keep going higher and higher and higher. It's astounding what Akira Toriyama accomplished. The fact he could do all of that and draw it and do character designs for video games and come up with original storylines for other things and do one-shots. On top of all of that, he did one-shot manga chapters, like in addition to his regular work. How do you do that? I don't understand how he managed to do that. James asked, where should I go to learn more about Toriyama as a person? This is going to sound selfish, but read my books. Dragon Ball Culture. I literally wrote the first English biography of Akira Toriyama, Dragon Ball Culture Volume 1. And if you want to understand Akira Toriyama's mind and how he works in Dragon Ball, read Dragon Ball Culture Volumes 2 through 6 for the manga, and then 7 for the anime, which is available in early access ebook. And when the ebook is done, I'll publish it in print. And then I'll go on to Dragon Ball Z Culture, GT Culture, Super Culture, and then all the other books I want to write, hopefully before I die, because I only have so much time. But, you know, Wikipedia, I guess, but that's just more facts. If you really want to learn how his mind works, you could save a ton of time by reading Dragon Ball Culture. Otherwise, you got to redo all the work I did. And it's a lot. It took me 12 years. So I recommend a book. Yeah. Nerd Extreme says it's so sad. He seems so pumped in his recent works. All the Sandland, Dragon Ball Daima, Dragon Quest Monsters, and the upcoming 12. Okay, Dragon Quest 12. Thank you. That's what I thought. Because 11 was online, right? Or no. 10 was online. 11 was the standalone one. I have played the demo on Steam, and I thought it was good. Haven't played the full game yet. So, apologies. Yes, upcoming is 12. And he also goes on to say he was still giving so much to the world. Yeah, he really was. He was, I don't want to say he was a workaholic, but because I don't really know. I know he took multiple days off, you know, while doing Dragon Ball each week. But he really did work hard, for sure. And has continued to work hard for our entertainment, and absolutely astounding person. Yeah, he will be greatly missed. Yeah, Goshen says, beautiful words. I'm so glad to have met you all. That first Kamehacon was something special, even through the issues. Everyone got together to celebrate one thing. Right. And that's important. I really think in times like this, just go online and tell people why you loved Akira Toriyama and his work. Even if you didn't know him outside of Dragon Ball or Dr. Slump or whatever, for whatever reason you're watching this video, his work had an influence on you in some way. Take 20 seconds to say what that was. Let people know that we do influence others, and that he did it in a positive way. His work meant something to you. I think that'll be good for you and for others. Quinn says, I've been watching Dragon Ball again with some coworkers. It's their first time. It's going to hit different watching the next episode tomorrow. Yeah. Yeah, it will. Are you going to tell them the sad news? And I guess you have to, right? It could be good for helping you process it. Yeah, it's going to be a while until Dragon Quest 12 comes out, and then we'll see his designs. He usually puts in new characters, right? New monsters and things like that. So I guess time will tell, and we'll have to see what he says. Okay, so that's it for the comments. Thank you, everybody. That was very nice of you to say such kind things and to talk about Toriyama and his work and the way he influenced you. This was hard for me. I still don't believe it. Like, I don't want to acknowledge it. I mean, I believe that on a factual level, but I don't want to acknowledge it because I haven't seen. I didn't go to the funeral. I haven't seen it, right? So, like, I want to deny that it happened, and that's probably normal. But I do have to admit it, right? I have to admit that Akira Toriyama has died because the Dragon Ball official website said that he did. And they would not have said that he died of a particular illness or condition if that were not a fact. So, as hard as it is to admit that the author of my favorite work and my professional obsession is gone. He is, in fact, gone. That is the healthy thing to do. So I think it's a good thing for everyone to say that to themselves, to acknowledge that Akira Toriyama has died. The first time I said it, I cried because I was just thinking it. It was just an idea. Like, maybe he has, maybe he hasn't. But when you say it out loud, it becomes real. So I would recommend that you do that. I think maybe the last two comments here. Gaming Hub UK says, thank you, and it was a beautiful stream. I give my condolences, and it's going to be a tough day for me, and I wish you a good day, and please take care of yourselves, everyone. Take care. God bless. Thank you, Gaming Hub UK. And Omega Rockman says, we may have to live in a world without Toriyama, but we can take solace in the fact that we will never live in a world without Goku. That's right on, man. You got that. You nailed it. Goku is, he's a part of me. And, you know, like I've got Goku on my phone. Let's see if I can bring it in. He's my wallpaper. This was a picture of him. It was the Goku Run event, like the Dragon Ball Run for kids in Japan. They did it so they could help kids be healthy. And they teach them that running is to get outdoors and to improve yourself. So I wake up every day looking at Goku taking another step forward, which is what I try to do every day. Even if it's a small step, I always try to keep moving forward because that's what Goku does. That's what Akira Toriyama taught me to do. And I hope that he taught that to you. I mean, I don't know how you couldn't get that, right? How could you not be inspired by that? All right. I didn't want to end it full of tears, but that's what happened. Okay. Yeah. So rest in peace, Akira Toriyama, wherever you are. And my condolences to you, Dragon Ball fan, and thank you for watching my stream. We'll see what happens next. All right.